the recording. And with that, I want to welcome everyone to our lunchtime publisher book buzz. Thank you so much for joining us. Summer reading is underway. I hope I can see from the chat that you guys have all your books lined up and are reading furiously, something we love to see. And don't forget that you can sign up for summer reading at your local library branch and get fabulous prizes. Events like this count. And finishers who read 5 books and attend events will receive a coupon for 1 free book at the book den, or a choice of a tote bag or chip clip. Because you need to carry around your books, and then you need to have something to keep your snacks fresh, because snacks and reading totally go together. So we're about to get started, but I have a few housekeeping details. Please note that this presentation is being recorded. All participants have both their camera and microphones turned off for this event so that we may better focus on the main presentation. And the chat is open, as you've discovered, and if you have questions for the presenter or for me, that is the place to ask. If you have technical difficulties, please message me directly. All participants will be sent a link with titles featured in today's event, and the recording will be posted on the library's YouTube page. So should you miss a title or two, don't worry, we got you covered. Some randomly selected attendees will win prize packages courtesy of our presenting publisher. I will notify our lucky winners after the event via email. And now, on with our event. I would like to welcome Rachel Berquist and Melissa Croce, representatives from Simon & Schuster, who will be sharing some of the best and new upcoming books to read this summer. Please take it away.
Hi, thank you so much. We're so excited to be here. My name is Rachel Berquist. I'm a marketing coordinator at Simon & Schuster in the Adult Library Department. So we're just so excited to be presenting some of our some of our summer titles with you today. Oh, and also Melissa Croce, my colleague, is with me as well. Okay, so just want to touch on a few latest from your favorite authors. I'm sure all of you are familiar with these authors, but just wanted to let you know they have a few new books coming out. So on June 22nd, we have the newest from Brad Thor, Black Ice. This is his newest thriller. On July 6th, we have the newest Kathy Reichs, The Bone Code. And then William Kent Kruger actually has a prequel to his Pork O'Connor series coming out on August 24th, and that is Lightning Strike. We have divided this presentation into genre categories. So the first genre we're talking about today is literary fiction. So first up, we have The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. This is a book that in-house we are so excited about. It's a New York Times bestseller. It was on the library reads list. And for our sales department, it was actually their top shelf pick, which means that it was the book that they were the most excited about for summer. So that should really tell you how special this book is. So 26-year-old editorial assistant Nella Rogers is tired of being the only Black employee at Wagner Books. She's fed up with the isolation and the microaggressions, so she's thrilled when Harlem-born and bred Hazel starts working in the cubicle next to hers. They've only just started their natural hair care regimens, though, when a string of uncomfortable events elevates Hazel to office darling, and Nella is left in the dust. Then the notes begin to appear on Nella's desk. Leave Wagner now. It's hard to believe that Hazel's behind these sinister messages, but as Nella starts to spiral, she realizes that there are these sinister forces at play, and there's a lot more at stake than just her career. This is a whip-smart thriller. It's very much Get Out meets The Devil Wears Prada. I really think this book is such essential reading for everyone, as it so expertly addresses the workplace racism that is just so pervasive in our culture. And this is for fans of The Vanishing Half and Such a Fun Age. And I really highly recommend this book, and I hope that you check it out. So next we have Swimming Back to Trout River by Linda Rufang. So this is set against the brutal cultural revolution in China. Momo, the patriarch of an immigrant family, tries to reunite his clan before his daughter Junie's 12th birthday. This book is told through multiple perspectives. So you have the perspective of Momo, the father, Junie, his daughter, Cassia, his wife, and also Dawn, a talented violinist from Momo's past. This novel unfurls stories of heartbreak while tenderly revealing the hope, compromises, and abiding ingenuity that make up the lives of immigrants. This book received a fantastic review from Booklist, the starred review. With the lightest of touches, Fang vividly portrays the experience of living in China during Mao's rule, as well as the pressures of being a new immigrant. Fang weaves the plot both surprising and inevitable with not a word to spare. This is for fans of The Leavers and A Place for Us. And this book is already on sale, so please be sure to check it out. Next up, we have Revival Season by Monica West. Every summer, 15-year-old Miriam travels through the South for revival season. It's a time of year when her father, a famous preacher, holds healing services for those desperate to be cured. When her father's healing powers are tested like never before, Miriam witnesses a shocking act of violence that shakes her belief in her father and her faith. This book celebrates both feminism and faith, and it's really a story of spiritual awakening and disillusionment in a Southern Black and evangelical community. This is a transporting coming-of-age novel, and it explores complicated family and what it means to be living in a community of the faithful. This book received a starred review for Publishers Weekly. Explosive, West does a fantastic job illuminating the struggles faced by women and girls in the Southern Baptist evangelical movement, and the change in Miriam is palpable and moving. West's deep understanding of her characters and community makes for essential reading. This is for fans of The Mothers and Silver Sparrow, and it is out now. So next we have Long Division by Casey Lehman. If you're unfamiliar with Casey Lehman, he's an incredible writer. He won the Carnegie Award for his memoir, Heavy, which is an incredible book, and I highly recommend you check that out if you haven't read it. So this is his debut novel. It's a coming-of-age novel about Black teenagers in post-Katrina, Mississippi. It's a satirical exploration of celebrity, authorship, violence, religion, and so much more. This book receives incredible blurbs, including one from Roxane Gay, an ambitious novel. It is the most exciting book I've read all year. There's nothing like it, both in terms of the scope of what the book tackles and the writing's Afro-surrealist energy. This book is on sale now, and it's for fans of The Sellout and Lot. Animal by Lisa Taddeo. So Lisa Taddeo is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Three Women, which is a nonfiction book about the sexual lives of 3 women. If you haven't read that book, it's incredible. It reads like fiction. Definitely be sure to check that one out. But this is her first novel, and it really does have a lot of the same themes as Three Women. So if you enjoyed that book, I really recommend that you read this one. So Joan has spent a lifetime enduring the cruel acts of men, but when one of them commits a shocking act of violence in front of her, she flees her home of New York City and heads to Los Angeles. There she unravels the horrific event from her childhood that has haunted her ever since, while finally forging the power to strike back. This is the depiction of female rage at its rawest, and it's a visceral exploration of the fallout from a male-dominated society. This book is on sale now, and it's for fans of My Dark Vanessa, and like I mentioned before, Three Women. Together We Will Go by J. Michael Straczynski. So this is on sale July 6th, so you have to wait a little bit for this one. So Mark Antonelli is a failed young writer, and he is planning a road trip. But this is not your normal road trip. Everyone else that's going on this trip with him is a fellow lost soul, and they have decided when they reach their destination, they are going to find an incredible view of the ocean, and they are going to drive out of this world like Thelma and Louise. So obviously this is a very heavy book, and it deals with a lot of difficult topics. But as you read this story and you get to know these characters and you learn their stories and their lives, you realize that this book is just as much about the desire to live as it is about the desire to die. This book is for fans of Survivor and A Long Way Down. And again, if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, has this kind of offbeat sense of humor, explore some darker themes, then I think that this book is for you. Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austin. So Gilda is a 20-something atheist, animal-loving lesbian, and she's looking for free therapy in a Catholic church when she is mistaken as an interviewee for the recently vacant receptionist position. Before she knows it, she finds herself hired to replace the recently deceased Grace. While she's doing her best to hide her true identity, she ends up striking up an email correspondence with a friend of Grace's. Gilda can't bring herself to tell this poor old woman that her friend has died, so she ends up impersonating her. Police then discover there are suspicious circumstances around Grace's death, so Gilda may finally have to reveal the truth behind her mortifying existence. This book is a delightful blend of warmth, deadpan humor, and pitch-perfect observations about the human condition. And it's really an exploration of what it takes to stay afloat in a world where your exploration and the exploration of those around you is the only certainty. This book goes on sale July 6th, and it's for fans of chemistry and First Bad Man. The Startup Wife by Tamima Anam. This is on sale July 13th. So this is one of my favorite books from summer. I love this book so much, so I'm so excited to talk to you about it. So Asha Ray is a brilliant coder, and she's poised to revolutionize artificial intelligence when she's reunited with her high school crush, Cyrus Jones. Before she knows it, they're married, she's given up her PhD program, and they've started their own company together. The platform that they create allows users to create individualized rituals, thereby creating a new kind of personalized religion. The platform becomes an absolute sensation with millions of users. And while Asha is the brains behind it, her husband Cyrus is the face of it. And he kind of becomes a messiah to all of these people. And as you can imagine, that is a lot of pressure on their marriage and also a lot of pressure on Asha. What I love so much about this book is it's this really searing yet subtle critique of the tech industry. And it really goes into how people can have noble intentions when they create these companies and they go into tech, but how difficult those are to see through when power, money, and greed get in the way and all the compromises you make along the way as well. It also really goes into how difficult it is for women of color in the tech industry, as it is such a predominantly white male space, and how their concerns are often overlooked and ignored until it is too late. This book is for fans of The Circle and The Idiot. It is so good, and I really hope that you have a chance to read it. So next we have The People We Keep by Allison Larkin. So in Little River, New York, in 1994, April Sawicki is living in a rundown motorhome, and she's flunking out of school, picking up shifts at the local diner. That is until she realizes she's finally had enough of her selfish, absent father, enough of barely surviving in this unfeeling town, and enough of feeling like she never is enough. So she makes a break for it. With only her music to keep her company, she travels around the country and manages to make a meaningful existence as a musician. She encounters people and places she never dreamed of, from lifelong friendships to tragic heartbreaks. She chronicles her journey in the music she writes and ultimately discovers home is with the people you choose to keep. I love this book so much. It's so beautiful, sweet. It's a really uplifting book. And I think that its message of found family will really resonate with so many people. April is also this incredible character. She's so easy to root for. She's so delightful. And your heart really goes out to her as you read this book. This book is going on sale August 3rd. And this is for fans of In 5 Years and Dear Edward. Damnation Spring by Ash Davidson. So this is set in 1973 in California. Rich Gunderson's family has chopped a livelihood out of the redwood forest for generations. So when an opportunity arises for him to buy a part of the ridge, he takes it, even though it costs his entire life savings. So while Rich is betting his family's future in logging, his wife Colleen is not so sure. She's had several miscarriages, and as a midwife, she's not the only one. Even though she's been told her entire life that the herbicides that the logging company uses are safe, she's no longer sure, and she begins to worry about their water supply. What I love so much about this book is that it takes an issue that on its face seems fairly simple, that logging and herbicides are detrimental to the environment, but it makes it really complicated by telling the story through the lens of one family. And you see this man that's really put his entire future and his entire livelihood into this industry that might not be around anymore. And I think it just shows us how we do need to have compassion for the hardworking people, the people in these jobs that are actually working in the industry, and not the people that really have the power to change it. So this is a really beautiful, intimate book. It's epic, it's literary, and I really think that it will really touch so many people. This goes on sale August 3rd, and it's really for fans of The Overstory and Barkskins. So finally, for literary fiction, we have All's Well by Mona Awad. So Miranda's life is a nightmare. The accident that ended her acting career left her with chronic back pain, a failed marriage, and a dependence on painkillers. She's on the verge of losing her job as a college theater director. She wants to stage All's Well that ends well, but her students are hell-bent on Macbeth. That is when 3 mysterious benefactors make her a promise for her future. The show will go on, her mutinous students will get revenge, and the doubted pain that ended her career will be made known. This is a formidable book. It's piercingly funny, and it's an indictment of our collective refusal to witness and believe female pain. Also, this book is perfect for fans of Shakespeare. If you love Shakespeare, there are so many references to his work, and there are a lot of Easter eggs throughout the book as well. This is going on sale August 3rd, and it's for fans of Nothing to See Here and Trust Exercise. So now I am passing it over to Melissa to talk about our nonfiction titles.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Diving right in, first, we have, next, please. Awesome. First, we have Homeschool Hacks by Lindsay Nurl. Hopefully the majority of school children will be in-person learning by next fall, but there are still thousands of families where homeschool has been their reality long before the pandemic. Welcome to Lindsay Nurl's world. She is a working mother of 6, and she's homeschooled her own children for years. And in this book, she shows how any family can do it with customized plans for every schedule. Schedule, lifestyle, and educational goal. In this book, she shares stories of homeschooling families with different backgrounds and motivations, dispelling the myth that it's only for religious folks or for stay-at-home parents. And she walks readers through a complete plan for their child's learning, including sample schedules to create a flexible framework for their classroom, curriculum assessments to discern which program will best fit their needs and their schedules, tips for finding and navigating the local homeschool community, and online resources to help people in their journey through graduation. Next. Speaking of school, you're never too old to learn something new. This is the 5 years before you retire, an updated edition, Retirement Planning When You Need It the Most by Emily Guy Birkin. It's a really financially precarious time right now. People are anxious and they're also looking for projects, particularly self-improvement ones. Planning for retirement ticks all of those boxes. The 5 years before you retire has helped thousands of people prepare for retirement, even if they've waited until the last minute. In this new and updated edition, you'll find out everything you need to do in the next 5 years to maximize your current savings and create a realistic plan for your future, including recent changes in financial planning, taxes, Social Security, healthcare, insurance, and more. This book is the all-inclusive guide to reach your economic and financial goals. From taking advantage of the employer match your company offers for your 401k to enrolling in Medicare to discussing housing options with your family, you are completely covered on every aspect of retirement planning. These straightforward strategies explain in detail how you can make the most of your last few years in the workforce and prepare for the future that you've always wanted. Next. And now something completely different. This is How to Grow Your Own Food, an illustrated beginner's guide to container gardening by Angela S. Judd. So during this pandemic, we've all learned how to bake our own bread, make our own yogurt, and prepare whatever pasta is trending this week. Time to take it to the next level and start growing your own food with this modern, easy to follow guidebook that shows readers everything they need to know to grow edible plants all year round. And best of all, you don't need a greenhouse or even a yard to do it. All you need are containers. How to Grow Your Own Food identifies 50 common, easy to grow edible plants from herbs to vegetables, along with detailed care instructions and beautiful illustrations of each plant. No matter how much or how little space you have in your apartment or wherever you're living, you can enjoy everything from basil to onions to strawberries with this practical guide to container gardening. Next. In Social Skills for Kids, from Making Friends and Problem Solving to Self-Control and Communication by Carrie K. Powers, readers can help their children develop essential social skills, including groups, one-on-one interactions, and virtual communication with these 150 easy, fun activities to teach kids how to socially succeed. Children's social development has been disrupted due to the pandemic, but even the most social butterflies could benefit from some of the many tips in this book. In Social Skills for Kids, readers will learn everything they need to know about how social skills develop in children and what they can do to support their growth. They'll also find games to encourage children in group settings, activities that they or any caregiver can do alone with the child, and ways to make the most of virtual interactions for social skill development. All right, the thing about history is it's bound to repeat itself. And in order to learn from both it and the present, you actually have to learn about it. For readers of Mary Roach and Adam Diamond, Quarantine Life from Cholera to COVID-19, What Pandemics Teach Us About Parenting, Work, Life, and Communities by Carrie Nixon, is an innovative look at the histories of different epidemics and what it meant for society, along with what lessons different diseases have to teach us as society battles the coronavirus. Diseases have the ability to highlight our shared concern across the ages, affecting every social divide from national boundaries, economic categories, racial divisions, and beyond. Author Carrie Nixon demonstrates that these conversations have always involved the same questions of individual liberties versus the common good, debates about rushing new and untested treatments, considerations of whether quarantines are effective to begin with, what to do about healthy carriers, and how to keep trade circulating when society shuts down. This immensely readable social and medical history tracks different diseases and outlines their trajectory, what they meant for society, along with practical takeaways we can apply to our current and future pandemics, so we can all be better prepared for whatever life throws our way. Next. In 1001 Voices on Climate Change, Everyday Stories of Flood, Fire, Drought, and Displacement from Around the World, journalist Debbie Lockwood travels the world, often by bicycle, collecting first-person accounts of climate change. From Denmark and Sweden to China, Turkey, the Canadian Arctic, and the Peruvian Amazon, she finds that ordinary people sharing their stories does far more to advance understanding and empathy than even the most alarming statistics and studies. This book is a hopeful global listening tour for climate change, channeling the urgency of those who have already glimpsed the future to help us avoid the worst. All right, next. Moving on to books that are more memoir and essay focused, we have Freedom by Sebastian Junger. In this intricately crafted and thought-provoking book, Sebastian examines the tension between community and freedom that lies at the heart of what it means to be human. For much of a year, Sebastian and three friends, a conflict photographer and two Afghan war vets, walked the railroad lines of the East Coast, forging a unique reliance on one another. In Freedom, he weaves this account of his journey together with primatology and boxing strategy, the history of labor strikes and Apache renegades, the role of women in resistance movements, and the brutal reality of life on the Pennsylvanian frontier. Written in exquisite razor-sharp prose, the result is a powerful examination of the primary desire that defines us. Next. House of Sticks by Lai Tran is an intimate, beautifully written coming-of-age memoir recounting a young girl's journey from the war-torn Vietnam to Queens and her struggle to find her voice amid clashing cultural expectations. Lai Tran is just a toddler in 1993 when she and her family immigrate from a small town on the Mekong River in Vietnam to a two-bedroom railroad apartment in Queens. Lai's father, a former lieutenant in the South Vietnamese Army, spent nearly a decade as a prisoner of war, and their resettlement is made possible through a humanitarian program run by the US government. As they navigate this new landscape, Lai finds herself torn between two worlds. She knows she must honor her parents' Buddhist faith and contribute to the family livelihood, but at school, Lai feels the mounting pressure to blend in. Who is she outside of everything her family expects of her? Next. So I've been following John Paul, or JP Brammer, on Twitter for ages now, and when I heard he was coming out with a book, I was thrilled. When I heard that book, titled Hola Papi, How to Come Out in a Walmart Parking Lot and Other Life Lessons, would be filled with memoir and essays in the same hilarious and heartwarming tone as his online persona, I was ecstatic. For those of you who don't know who JP is, he's a popular LGBTQ advice columnist and writer, the Cheryl Strayed, if you will, for young queer people everywhere. In Hola Papi, JP shares his story of growing up biracial and in the closet against the backdrop of America's heartland, while attempting to answer some of life's toughest questions. How do I let go of the past? How do I become the person I want to be? And is there such a thing as being too gay? With wit and wisdom in equal measure, Hola Papi is for anyone, gay, straight, and everything in between, who has ever taken stock of their unique place in the world, offering considered advice, intelligent discourse, and fits of laughter along the way. Next. On screen, Danny Trejo, the actor, is a baddie who has been killed at least 100 times. He's been shot, stabbed, hanged, chopped up, squished by an elevator, and once was even melted into a bloody goo. Off screen, he's a hero beloved by recovery communities and obsessed fans alike. But the real Danny Trejo is much more complicated than the legend. Raised in an abusive home, Danny struggled with a heroin addiction and stints in some of the country's most notorious state prisons, including San Quentin and Folsom, before he starred in such modern classics such as Heat, From Dusk Till Dawn, and Machete. Painful, poignant, and real, Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption, in Hollywood, is a portrait of a magnificent life and an unforgettable and exceptional journey through tragedy, pain, and finally, success that will transfix and inspire. And last, for nonfiction, we have Don't Let It Get You Down, Essays on Race, Body, and Gender by Savala Nolan. Savala Nolan knows what it means to live in the in-between. Descended from a Black and Mexican father and a white mother, Savala's mixed race identity is obvious, for better and worse. At her mother's encouragement, she began her first diet at the age of 3 and has been both fat and painfully thin throughout her life. She has experienced both the discomfort of generational poverty and the ease of wealth and privilege. It is these liminal spaces of race, class, and body type that the essays in Don't Let It Get You Down excavate, presenting a clear and nuanced understanding of our society's most intractable points of tension. The 12 essays that comprise this collection are rich and unforgettable anecdotes and are as humorous and as full of Savala's appetites as they are of anxieties. The result is lyrical and magnetic.
All right, so I am now talking to you all about some of our romance titles, which I'm so excited about. So first up, we have It Had to Be You by Georgia Clark, which is a book that I absolutely adore. For the past 20 years, Liv and Elliot have run in love in New York, Brooklyn's beloved wedding planning business. That is until Elliot dies and he lives half the business to his mistress, Savannah. So this kind of creates a very strange dynamic between Liv, who has to run her business with her partner's mistress, but they really develop this incredible relationship and business partnership. And really what the book does is it kind of creates this relationship between Liv and Savannah to tell all of these other stories about couples in New York City. And these couples are just as wonderful and diverse as the city is. There are LGBTQ couples, there are interracial couples, and they're all told in kind of this Love Actually style braided narrative. This really is a pitch perfect rom-com. It's so funny. It's so delightful. You'll read it in like 2 days. There's so many amazing couples to root for. You won't be able to pick your favorite. And again, this book is just, it's so good. It is for fans of Evie Drake Starts Over and The Wedding Party, and it is on sale now. The Snowman Equation by Christina Lauren. So single mom Jess has absolutely no interest in dating. That is until she hears about Genetically, a DNA-based matchmaking company that kind of matches you with your DNA soulmate, for better or for worse. So she takes the test and finds that she has a 98% compatibility with the founder, Dr. River Pena. The problem is that she's met him and she is positive they are not soulmates. But the company pays Jess to date Dr. River Pena because they're going public soon and they need the good publicity. So as they're dragged from one event to the next, Jess begins to realize that there might be more to the scientist and the science behind a soulmate than she thought. Whether or not you're a fan of Christina Lauren or have never read their books before, this book is laugh out loud funny, it's sweet, it's romantic, and I really think it's the kind of escapism that so many of us need right now. It's already been published, so it's available to read now, and this is for fans of When Life Gives You Lemons and The Lies That Bind. And I see someone in the chat, oh, Brendel finished it and loved it. It is really just such a delightful book. So next we have To Sir with Love by Lauren Lane. So when Gracie Cooper's father dies, he leaves her his champagne business, and the dream of becoming an artist is left behind. The shop is not doing so well, so a giant corporation headed by the impossibly handsome but arrogant Sebastian Andrews wants to do a buyout. Gracie confides in the faceless Sir, a man she met on a blind dating app where matches get to know each other through conversation and common interests before before photos and names are exchanged. So she finds herself falling for Sir online, but she has no idea she's already met him and she hates him. This is very much a modern take on You've Got Mail. This book is so delightful. I read this in a single day. It is just such like a good dose of like good energy and happiness. The characters are so good. And this is going on sale June 29th. So just a little bit of a wait. And this is for fans of Meet Cute and The Right Swipe. Next, we have Heartbreak for Hire by Sonia Hartle. So this is a smart, sexy, witty romantic comedy. This is perfect for fans of Christina Lauren and Sally Thorne. And this is about a 20-something woman who lives every woman's fantasy, getting paid to give men who do us wrong a taste of their own medicine. But when a previous target unexpectedly shows up at her office, she's forced to rethink her life as a professional heartbreaker. We've received so many incredible blurbs for this book, including one from Lysa K. Adams, the best-selling author of the Bromance book series. Wow, romantic comedy doesn't get much better than this. Witty, sexy, and smart, Sonia Hartle has written a truly laugh-out-loud story that you won't be able to put down. This book goes on sale July 27th, and it is for fans of Beach Read and The Right Swipe. So now we're moving into a much different territory, science fiction and horror. So first up, we have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. If you have read Stephen Graham Jones' previous book, Only Good Indians, this is an incredible follow-up to that novel. So Jade Daniels is a graduating high school senior, and she feels like she's trapped in a slasher film as tourists go missing in the quickly gentrifying rural lake town of Purfook, Idaho. As the class and race divide between her Blackfeet Nation community and the upper crust celebrity newcomers widens, Jade feels the pieces slide into place for a small town catastrophe. She realizes that only her encyclopedic knowledge of horror films will prepare her for survival. This book goes on sale August 31st, and it's for fans of the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and like I previously mentioned, his previous novel, The Only Good Indians. And then finally, for science fiction and horror, we have Shadows of Eternity by Gregory Benford. So this book is set 2 centuries from now. Humanity has established a SETI library on the moon, and SETI stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And this library deciphers and interprets the many messages from alien societies that we have discovered. The most intriguing messages, however, are from a complete artificial intelligence. Ruth, a beginner librarian, must talk to alien minds who have aggressive agendas of their own. She opens doors into strangeness beyond imagination, and in her quest for understanding nearly gets killed doing it. So Gregory Benford is one of science fiction's most iconic writers. He's been nominated for 4 Hugo Awards and 12 Nebula Awards. This book is his return to the sweeping galactic science fiction genre, and this is something that so many readers have really been waiting for. And this book goes on sale July 13th, and it's for fans of Children of Time and the Berlin Project. And then I'm passing it over to Melissa again to talk about our thriller titles.
Okay, thriller fans, this is your time to shine. First up is 6 Weeks to Live by Catherine Mackenzie. Jennifer Barnes never expected the shocking news she received at a routine doctor's appointment. She has a terminal brain tumor and only 6 weeks left to live. While stunned by the diagnosis, the 48-year-old mother decides to spend what little time she has left with her family close by her side. But when she realizes she was possibly poisoned a year earlier, she's determined to discover who might have tried to get rid of her before she's gone for good. Separated from her husband and with a contentious divorce in progress, Jennifer focuses her suspicions on her soon-to-be ex. Meanwhile, her 3 daughters are each processing the news differently, and with them doubting her campaign against their father, Jennifer can't help but wonder if the poisoning is all in her head or if there's somebody else who wanted her dead. All right, next. I'm not going to tell you too much about Falling, the debut thriller by T.J. Newman, but I can tell you this. It's going to be one of the best thrillers you've read all summer. Hands down. Don't believe me? Get a load of this premise. You've just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 other passengers on board. What you don't know is that about 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. And in order for his family to live, everyone on your plane must die. And the only way for them to survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. Enjoy the flight. Next. From the New York Times bestselling author Megan Miranda comes Such a Quiet Place, a new novel about a mysterious murder in a close-knit neighborhood. Hollow's Edge used to be such a quiet, idyllic place, but then came the murders of Brandon and Fiona Truitt. A year and a half later, what was once a paradise is now a nightmare. The residents are trapped, unable to sell their homes, and suffocated by their trial testimonies that implicated one of their own, Ruby Fletcher. And now Ruby's back. With her conviction overturned, Ruby waltzes right back to Hollow's Edge and into the home she once shared with her friend, Harper. Harper, 5 years older, has always treated Ruby like a wayward younger sister, but now she's terrified. What possible good could come out of Ruby returning to the scene of the crime? But yet, how can Harper turn her away when she knows that Ruby has nowhere else to go? Within days, it becomes increasingly clear that not everyone told the truth about the night of the Truitt's murders. And when Harper begins receiving threatening notes, she realizes she has to uncover the truth before someone else becomes the killer's next victim. Yep, and as Brendel says, Such a Quiet Place was the #1 book librarians are looking forward to in July, courtesy of the Library Reads List. Next, we have a book with what I find to be honestly an incredibly unsettling title, which is Did I Say You Could Go by Melanie Gideon. When Ruth, a wealthy divorcee, offers to host the Hillside Academy kindergarten meet and greet, she hopes that this will be a fresh start for her and her introverted daughter, Marley. Instead, the parents are all turned off by Ruth's ostentatious wealth, and before kindergarten even begins, Ruth and Marley are outcasts once again. The last guest to arrive at the meet and greet is Gemma, a widow and a single mother to her daughter, Bee. Ruth sets her sights on the mother and daughter duo, and soon the two families are inseparable. Gemma becomes seduced and alarmed by Ruth's wealth and generosity, which she can't help but feel will soon come at a price. When Ruth's affair with the married hillside father is exposed and she's publicly shunned, Gemma uses it as an opportunity to sever ties with Ruth. Fast forward to 6 years later, when Gemma finds herself embroiled in her own scandal, and then Ruth comes to her defense. Their renewed friendship rehabilitates their reputations, but once again, Gemma starts to feel trapped as Ruth grows more and more obsessed with their friendship. A relentless page turner, Did I Say You Could Go, is a story of friendship steeped in lies and duplicity. It's about two families, when pushed to the extreme, cross the line with devastating results. Next, we have The Family Plot by Megan Collins. At 26, Delilah Lighthouse remains haunted by her upbringing. Raised in a secluded mansion on an island deep in the woods and kept isolated by her true crime-obsessed parents, she has been unable to move beyond the disappearance of her twin brother Andy when they were 16. When her father dies, Delilah returns to her family's home, where the family soon makes another gruesome discovery. Buried in their father's plot is another body, Andy's. Dahlia is quick to blame Andy's murder on the serial killer who terrorized the island for decades, while the rest of the lighthouses react to the revelation in unsettling ways. Her brother, Charlie, for instance, pours his energy into creating a family memorial museum. Her sister, Tate, forges ahead with popular dioramas portraying crime scenes. And their mother affects a cheerfully domestic facade, becoming a seemingly completely different person. As Dahlia grapples with her own grief and horror, she realizes that her eccentric family and the mansion itself may hold the answers to what happened to her twin. Next. All right, lastly, we have women's fiction. Our first title straddles the line between thriller and women's fiction. This is Laura Dave's best-selling The Last Thing He Told Me. Before Owen Michaels disappeared, he left a note to his wife, Hannah, protect her. Hannah is shocked and confused about a lot of things regarding her husband's sudden disappearance, but the meaning of the note is clear. Protect Owen's teenage daughter and Hannah's stepdaughter, Bailey, who of course hates Hannah. Soon, two more things become increasingly clear. One, that Owen definitely wasn't who he said he was, what with the US Marshals and FBI agents converging upon their home, and two, that Bailey might hold the key to figuring out who Owen really was and why he disappeared. Teaming up, the two set out to discover the truth. As my colleague Amy said about this book, it grabs your attention and holds on tight, taking you across the country and back in a thrilling puzzle. And this is one puzzle you won't want to miss. Next. New York Times bestselling author Big Summer, Jennifer Weiner, is back with That Summer, another timely and deliciously twisty novel of intrigue, secrets, and the transformative power of female friendship. Daisy Shoemaker can't sleep. With a thriving cooking business, full schedule of volunteer work, and a beautiful home in the Philadelphia suburbs, she should be content. But her teenage daughter can be a handful, her husband can be distant, and her work can feel trivial, and she has a lot of acquaintances, but no real friends. Still, Daisy knows she's got it good, so why is she up all night? While Daisy tries to identify the root of her dissatisfaction, she's also receiving misdirected emails meant for a woman named Diana Starling, whose email address is just one puncture mark away from her own. Diana's glamorous, sophisticated, single lady life is miles away from Daisy's simpler existence. When an apology leads to an invitation, the two women meet and become friends. But as they get closer, we learn that their connection was not completely accidental. Who is this other woman, and what does she want with Daisy? Next. This is Cheat Day by Liv Stratman. Kit and David were college sweethearts. Fast forward 12 years later, and they live in Kit's childhood home in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. While David has a successful career jetting off on work trips to exotic destinations, Kit is set in a loop. No matter how many times she attempts to fulfill career ambitions of her own, her fears of failure bring her right back to the only steady job she could handle, managing her sister's bakery, Sweet Cheeks. Kit finds a fraught solace in cycling through fad diets, which David, in his efforts to be supportive, follows along with her. Their latest program is called the Radiant Regimen, an intense 75-day cleanse. But soon, Kit falls into a flirtation with a carpenter named Matt, who is building new shelves for the bakery kitchen. Unable to resist their mutual attraction, Kit and Matt fall into a passionate affair. Kit tries to suppress the guilt of her betrayal by adhering more and more strictly to the Radiant Regimen, pushing the diet and her infidelity to greater extremes. Told in precise, intimate detail, Cheat Day is a sharply comic novel that explores family, loyalty, monogamy versus monotony, deprivation versus indulgence, and the limitation of modern wellness. Next. Kristen Harmel, the New York Times bestselling author of the Book of Lost Names, returns with The Forest of Vanishing Stars. After being stolen from her wealthy German parents and raised in the unforgiving wilderness of Eastern Europe, a young woman finds herself alone in 1941 after her kidnapper dies. Her solitary existence is interrupted, however, when she happens upon a group of Jews fleeing the Nazi terror. Stunned to learn what's happening in the outside world, she vows to teach the group all she can about surviving in the forest. And in turn, they teach her some surprising lessons about opening her heart after years of isolation. But when she is betrayed and escapes into a German-occupied village, her past and present come together in a shocking collision that could change everything. This was also named by librarians as one of their most anticipated books of July 2021. It comes out 4th of July weekend, or right after. All right, I think that this is an appropriate final title for this presentation, Yours Cheerfully by A.J. Pierce, a follow-up to Dear Mrs. Bird. London, November 1941. Following the departure of the formidable Henrietta Bird from Women's Friend magazine, things are looking up for Emmeline Lake as she takes on the challenge of becoming a young wartime advice columnist. Her relationship with her boyfriend Charles, now stationed back in the UK, is blossoming, while Emmy's best friend Bunty, still reeling from the very worst of the Blitz, is bravely looking into the future. Together, the friends are determined to make a go of it. When the Ministry of Information calls on Britain's women's magazines to help recruit desperately needed female workers to the war effort, Emmy is thrilled to be asked to step up and help. When she and Bunty meet a young woman who shows them the very real challenges that women war workers face, Emmy must tackle a life-changing dilemma between doing her duty and standing by her friends. All right, before I let you guys go, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about all of our resources. Our website and social media are listed here below as they have been on every slide, but we also have the book drop. It's filled with a seasonal brochure filled with our department's recommendations, links to our full digital catalog, book trailers, and more. You can find that by going to simonschuster.net. And we also have our book club favorites program. I'm sure you guys have book clubs at your library. Maybe you have some on your own, but if you do, and you and your fellow book club people are looking for programming or want authors involved in your book club discussions or events, let us know. Email us at bookclubfavorites@simonschuster.com for details. That is it. From Rachel and I know we've covered a lot. If you didn't catch everything, we sent a title list to Brendel that you can share and reference when making your TBR. Thanks so much for spending your lunchtime with us, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There are so many books on that list that I'm really looking forward to, but that last one from the author of Dear Mrs. Bird, I just love Dear Mrs. Bird. It was just such a lovely, lovely book that was perfect. And so I'm looking forward to the sequel. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that many of these books are already on the library catalog, and most of the others will be on there soon. And again, if you missed any titles, don't worry, you will receive a link to a copy of the slides from today's presentation, plus a link to the video. And remember, lucky randomly selected event attendees will win prize packages from Simon & Schuster today, and I will be notifying the attendees following the event very soon. Please join us again next week for our next Publishers Book Buzz, Wednesday, June 23rd at noon, for a presentation by Workman Publishers. And for information about that event, other summer events, or to sign up for summer reading, please be sure to visit our website at saclibrary.org. Until then, happy reading, everyone.